Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So, messing around in the shop this weekend. Figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an update. Probably haven't made too much progress since the last time I was on here, but a little bit. We're working on the F550 trash truck today. And yeah, I'll give you a look around. So I have no idea when the last time I showed this, but getting it together, it runs, still haven't really driven it. We built this custom fuel tank and still got to plumb it in. I put some rectangle tubing here so I can slide some other rectangle tubing inside that with some jack stands on all four corners. And that was my kind of future proofing for if I ever have to take this off, I could just put it on jack stands and drive the truck out from under it. That should work because this is, I have two 5,000 pound forklifts and they will not lift it. So I got this thing kind of rebuilt up a little bit, and let's see. We got the ejector blade in it, or the phallic blade, whatever you want to call it. I got that hydraulic cylinder rebuilt. Still got to route my grease lines and got some of my hydraulic lines routed, yada, yada, yada. Got this thing all painted, cleaned up a little bit, and got fenders on it. Getting ready for paint. One of the crazy things is it had hydraulic hoses running down over here and around it, and I wanted to make them stainless steel. So I was going to run some stainless steel lines through here and hard line all that stuff and kind of convert some of this stuff to hard lines to kind of clean it up, because this truck's getting cleaned up pretty good. We cut off the dumpster tipper. We took out the winch. Still working on some of this stuff. I took out the valve box, so I'm working on that today. Trying to get this thing off so we can kind of, not only we got to kind of sandblast and paint, but I want to clean this up and test this. Plus I want to get the hydraulic lines dealt with, and there's a little bit of body damage back here I'm going to deal with. I deleted two, so this is what I'm working on today. I deleted what we'll assume is dumpster tipper and winch, but I deleted two functions off the side, which left me with three. So trash can tipper, we'll call it, what do they call it? Scoop blade and packer blade or whatever. So I'm left with three functions, and that's what I'm trying to work on today. So we just noticed not too long ago that this valve was missing a spool valve. This one seems like it's missing something. I'm not sure if that's just a rubber plug or what. We're missing some hoses and the valve, the steel rods and everything that go to it. But I'm going down to three functions anyways, so I'm just going to get rid of two of the valve stacks and go down to three. But I got to figure out, because these two are the same, these two are the same but different than those, and this one's all by itself different than the rest. So I have to figure out why they're different and if there's certain ones that I need to keep for certain functions or how they work. I'm not positive yet, but I'm about to take it apart. I'm pretty sure that these are modular. I mean, somebody deals with this stuff all the time, but this is the first time I've ever been into one of these things. But pretty sure they're modular, and you could just run them 1 or 5 or 10 or whatever. So trying to figure that out today. The other thing is let me crawl my ass under here. We are plumbing in the tank. Let me crawl under there real quick. So we've got to plumb in the fuel tank, And the fuel pump used to be 6.4 Power Stroke, used to be right here. So we've still got a drive line coming through here. We've got the PTO and the hydraulic lines that are still coming through here. And the fuel filters in this side of the pump. I was gonna go to like a fast fuel system, but the more research I did, the more unnecessary it seemed, and I kind of was just gonna stick with this setup. So I have no idea why this wasn't done from the factory, but either way it's done now. We move the fuel pump back to where there's not much here. The lines can just go straight to it, to the tank. The fuel filter is really easy to access. You can reach around and drain the water out of the fuel. So yeah, we're just gonna relocate that and then run new fuel lines from this to the tank, which everything's JIC now. We're converting this to JIC, and then we'll run all new fuel lines up to the engine. I think that's about it under here. We built some toolbox hangers for future stuff. We got everything relined underneath. I got my springs mounted on, so should be pretty decent, man. It's starting out as a pretty clean, nice trash truck stuff that we can work on. Our fuel tank that we built this one a little low, but we're gonna try it, see what happens. We build all this stuff in-house. I've got a bender and we've got everything to weld and fabricate with, so if we have to redo it, we will. I mean, some of this is an experiment. So experimenting with a while back is soldering on JIC fittings to steel tubing, and to get rid of this plastic line. That line is kind of shit. And then we got this line from Gates that's specific for fuel. It's specific for diesel fuel, and it uses crimped on fittings, which we've got a crimper and we've got fittings in stock, and now we have this hose in stock. So that was kind of easier. Even if it does fail, I can make that real quick. On these factory lines with us converting everything, you're just stuck with this shit, and it's going to be hard to figure out, but another experiment. This was one of the hydraulic lines that I was practicing on. So it's just got your normal flare nut and everything. So for 10 foot of these, I looked around forever, and most people wanted like $300 for 10 foot of these. And I know I'm being kind of picky, but I'm already here. I'm going to do it. But I did find some for cheaper. This is 065, supposedly rated for 3,000 or 4,000 pounds. But I bought Swagelok, which I know should have a burst pressure a lot higher than that, or a working pressure maybe. These nuts and that ferrule, that ferrule's like $1, this nut's like $1. Everyone's like, well, just use Swagelok, whatever they're called, crimp fittings, that there's no flaring needed. You just slide over the ferrule. I probably have one if I went looking around. And then you put the nut and everything on, and when you tighten it down, it crimps. One, those things are $35 to $55 per fitting, and two, it's crimping on. There's nothing really keeping it from blowing apart, even though I know that they're probably pretty good. So I had one flaring tool kit, which was this guy here. So pretty nice flaring tool kit, and I did not try this yet, but I do need to. But funny enough, I forgot that I had this kit, and I was told you need this kit. This has to be the thing that you use. I'm going to do a separate video comparing these two. I did already flare this end, and I'm working on a few other things, but so pretty similar, except that this has these little rollers, and this is $500. No idea what these cost. I already owned it. I have no idea if it would have worked, but I ordered that thinking that I was going to need it, and basically getting prepared to... So I actually bent this. I've already messed with this, and then I flared that end there, which it wound up pretty good. That's about as good as my camera gets. It's a little bit sharp here, not like it matters. It'll seal. So we're gonna try to see what happens with that. I also had this kit on here, which this is kind of stupid, but so I was thinking that I can take an end mill when I cut the tubing, put a pilot in it, because this is a countersink set. Grab a pilot real... Oh, see, that's why it's stupid, is none of the pilots fit the stupid bits. Not all of them do, but... let's see if I can get one out. Yeah, a bunch of stupid, different size pilots. So, when I cut the tubing, I could have used this to trim the end. Still going to experiment on the old piece of tubing, and somewhere, I think in my pocket, I also bought to deburr the inside before I flare it. And then this is an outside. So we're going to try those to see if I can figure out how to flare this without having burrs or making it sharp. But either way, it'll work as it is. I also have another machine that's a 37 degree and 45 degree lapping tool that kind of grinds the inside of these to reseal them or to resurface them or whatever. That is a separate setup. That's for like valves on cylinder heads and stuff. But I've used it on this stuff. I know that it works. It's just a basic situation. So whether or not I need to do this, but either way, I was going to get set up. We're going to run those new lines down through here, through the side with bulkheads, and then I'll run them all the way back over to here and then just have the hose connect to the hard line underneath to keep this hose, yada, 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 from hanging down. It was wrapped around the corner. It was actually wrapped under here. And I was worried about bottoming out the truck and cutting up the hose. So we cut this out. We're going to bring them down here and put our bulkhead fittings in here. And hope that works. We'll see. And then plus, yeah, sun and all this other stuff. People hanging on them. Either way, all my trash trucks have hardline fittings. And I figured I need to get set up to do these things eventually. Because my other truck leaks everywhere. So nobody in my town does this stuff, which we're in an oil field town. I was kind of surprised. We got my big tires off. Eventually, these are F550 tires. Eventually, I'll probably go to the F600 tires. Once we get this thing running, and then I'm going to get this thing into paint here pretty soon. And the only other thing I got to do is the electrical. I got to lay it out, which there was fittings and all that stuff for that. As for the fuel pump, they make these. I think we're going to use these to convert it to JIC. It was either that or weld-on fittings, but if I ever have to change the pump, I could just change it directly over. All this stuff will unbolt, and we'll see how that goes. That's about it. I had it all sanded down. I might have to sand it once more or clean it up once more. I also got to get all these stickers off, which I bought a sticker removing tool, which I'm not going to be able to find, but shop's a mess right now. doing a lot of different projects. LS, building a Ford 200 custom engine. So, and that's dropping the bucket of what's going on here. We got all this dealt with. This was all stripped apart, missing parts. So I've got our little level. We've got our vent. We got a new filter system in there. All that's new and rebuilt. So we got, this was cut apart with a torch. So I had to cut all this out, weld a new nipple in there. We put a valve in there. So I got to run that down to the PTO, run one up to that valve box. Eventually, like I said, we're going to build a toolbox through here, kind of similar to the other setup where we'll try to match the body a little bit if we can. And then that'll just, hold our, we'll say most likely just toe straps and whatever tools. I could not find a good place to put a spare tire. Not sure that we need one. We'll stick local. I probably should have made it go in here. I got a little phone cover that keeps sliding over. I probably should have put a spare tire in here, but we did not. So, fire extinguisher took down. We'll paint everything, put that back up. Get at least one fire extinguisher on there. I'd probably like to put at least one more on there somewhere. But it is coming along. Haven't had too much chance to work on this thing. Just been running the business. No extracurricular activities, even though we're going to need this truck here really soon. And then we'll have to bring in one of the ones that I own and start fixing the lack of maintenance on those that we're falling behind on because I just don't have time. We work all day long and don't seem to have much extra time to fix all the little bullshit with no spare truck. Those trucks are out like 10 to 12 hours a day. And they're not out on Fridays. Fridays I empty the trucks and then come try to do stuff around the shop, and same on Saturday and Sunday. I'm always doing some project around here, but eventually we'll get them dealt with. So there is my update. I'm going to do a separate video on testing those two flaring tools and seeing if there's a difference if you do need the $500 one. And then I've got 3 or 4 or 5 different tubing cutters and a couple different ways to trim the ends before we flare it. So I'm going to test all that in another video and see if we can get some hard lines on this thing eventually, and hopefully get some fuel lines here so I can move this thing around, because right now it's stuck on my lift. So that's probably what I need to do today, and waiting on answers on what I can do with that valve stack. If I can shrink that valve stack, get it back up, plumb everything back up there, that's all good. And maybe a handful of problems left. Get it painted and she will be on the road next year, and see what this thing does for me. 4-wheel drive, smaller, anybody can drive it, non-CDL. 8-yard, hoping to get 160 to 180 cans in this thing, but we don't really need to. This just needs to do the roads that we shouldn't be driving our big trucks down, and then maybe I could go do extra pickups and all this stuff. So hopefully this does help me in my trash business, because we are just winging it, man. We've been scraping by, it's been operating off of bare minimum of what I need. So we are out of trash cans. I can't even afford another batch of trash cans. We have a wait list, but I have not been able to accomplish the next batch. So because I've been trying to deal with the previous projects that I just don't want sitting around, this trash truck has not made me any money. It's just sucked a bunch of money from me over the last year. So I need to get it on the road working and hopefully making things a little bit more efficient. Yeah, thanks for you guys who still stuck around. I do plan on posting more videos this next year. There's 1.5 million reasons I did not post many this year, but maybe I'll try to get back to it and see if we can get the YouTube channel back on track, because the juggling the trash business almost made me, I had to figure out I was juggling too much at once and I almost dropped everything. I'm hoping to get back on track here pretty soon. So I'm still juggling, but things are getting caught up. So anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.